Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're back with another video and we're reacting to something different actually. This is actually part of World War I, not World War II, World War I. And it's about the 12 battles of the Isonzo. So we're reacting to the Armchair Historian, Italian Insanity, 12 Battles of the Isonzo Animated History. So I'm here in the Wikipedia page, Battles of Isonzo. The battles of the Isonzo, known as the Isonzo Front, were a series of 12 battles between the Austro-Hungarian and Italian armies in World War I, mostly on the territory of present-day Slovenia and the remainder in Italy along the Isonzo River on the eastern sector of the Italian front between 1915 and November 1917. This was actually a forgotten front. Yes, this was actually a forgotten front. When I was searching about this, I didn't even know this exists. When I just watched a video about the Italian front, now I learned about it. So here's a table of brief summary of Isonzo battles. There are 12 battles. The total casualties of Italians were 950,180, and for the Austro-Hungarian casualties were 520,532. And yes, this is actually the front where the Austro-Hungarians were somewhat successful because somewhat, but by looking at the outcomes, limited Italian advance, Italian victory, Austro-Hungarian victory, Austro-Hungarian victory, conclusive, Italian victory, conclusive, Austro-Hungarian victory, Italian advance, halted, limited Italian advance, Italian victory. I don't know. This was the front where the Austro-Hungarians winning. I don't know, but we're reacting to some Armchair Historian. I'm going to start my recording. Okay, it's still zero though. And here we go. It's been a while since we reacted to Armchair Historian. Not really. It was actually maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. But hey, let's go. Hold on, that's too high.
With the stroke of a pen, an Italian diplomat commits his nation to the Entente. His counterparts from Britain, Russia, and France blot their signatures, and as the ink begins to dry, the three negotiators shake hands on a job well done. For the past year, Italy has declared strict neutrality in the war between the Entente and the Central Powers, despite...
Actually, before the war, Italy was actually allied with Germany and Austro-Hungary, but it wasn't really an offensive alliance. It's almost I don't know. Comment down below. Tell me more about this, because this is actually my first time learning about this. It's not actually a offensive alliance. It's actually just mostly a defensive only. I don't know. Let's just go back.
Despite their former alignment with Germany and Austria-Hungary, Berlin has pressured Vienna to honor Italian territorial demands in a bid to motivate Rome to take military action against the Entente, but Vienna has proven reluctant, and their inaction has brought Italy to these secret negotiations.
Oh, a secret
With promises of Austrian territory after their inevitable victory, Italy prepares to go to war alongside Britain, France, and Russia. Hi, I'm Griffin Johnson, the Armchair Historian. Although Italy was officially a member of the Triple Alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary, the country kept itself out of conflict following Franz Ferdinand's assassination in 1914. After all, the Triple Alliance was a defensive pact. Berlin and Vienna were...
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's a defensive pact. It's not an offensive alliance. I'm sorry about that. It was a defensive pact. Anyway.
The aggressors, and neutrality gave the Italian government the ability to both avoid the privations of war and solicit the best possible terms under which to commit their military to either side. In April of 1915, Italy concluded secret negotiations with Britain and France, who promised them Austrian territory that the Italians had long coveted. With these assurances in hand, Italy marched to war against Austria-Hungary. In this video, we will look at the carnage and losses Italy sustained while throwing countless troops against the Austrian defenses along the Isonzo River, a campaign that failed strategically, tactically, and in some cases, morally. Given this is a video about...
Whoops. Oh, there we go. And an ad, let's go mute it. Anyway, let's go back. Hello button. Hello button, there we go.
About the First World War, it is only fitting to have today's sponsor be the Great War.
Okay, let's go skip the Great.
As Italy marshaled her men, its commanders turned their eyes toward Austria-Hungary. The two countries shared an alpine border, with breathtaking mountain ranges that, in peacetime, provided enviable skiing and hiking. But in wartime, the peaks were natural fortresses, and the Austrians had long since capitalized on their mountainous frontier, digging in and building fortifications along the Italian border. Further complicating matters was the Isonzo River, which had experienced record rainfall over the last year, and would continue to flood its banks through 1918. The swollen Isonzo acted as a moat to the mountain's castle, presenting the Italians with a considerable offensive challenge. Overcoming these obstacles would require careful planning and a logical strategic vision, two qualities that Italian Field Marshal and commander of the Austrian front, Luigi Cadorna, would fail to apply. Cadorna, who was named Chief of Staff in the early days of the war, was known for successfully reforming the Italian army. The force he would lead was better organized, though still lacking in equipment. A keen proponent of frontal assaults, Cadorna drew up plans to charge across the Isonzo River into the mountainous frontier, dislodging the Austrians and breaking through their defensive lines to drive for Slovenia. From there, the Italian army could threaten Vienna. Cadorna would pursue this objective by launching multiple offensives across the Isonzo River, meeting the Austrians in battle a total of 12 times, our titular Battles of the Isonzo. Cadorna, with no one to check him, launched the First Battle of the Isonzo on June 23, 1915. The Italian...
First of all, looking at the geographic location, it's a strategic location for the Austrians because it's a challenge to invade Austria in the Isonzo front because of the mountainous region of modern-day Slovenia, and by the looks of it, being used as skiing. That's a challenge.
Italians opened up.
By the way, comment down below anything that you know about this, because this is my first time learning about World War I. And I've been mostly watching World War I. I've been watching World War I in the past week, but I don't know much. The only thing that I know is some of the Pacific War. So yeah.
Their attack with a brief artillery barrage before throwing themselves headlong at the Austrian positions.
Okay.
The Italians outnumbered their foes 2-1, but the Austrians were, again, dug in on mountains.
That's good.
Assault after assault was thrown back, and by the end of the day, the Italians had lost over 15,000 men and gained some small footholds on the Austrian side, occupying the heights overlooking the Slovene town of Bovec and taking the westernmost edge of the karst plateau. The Austrians took 10,000 losses in their defense, and the action would pause for 11 days as both sides licked their wounds. Cadorna would take his time to reassess his strategic outlook, consulting with his subordinates and... wait, that's not right. No, he ordered a frontal assault. The Italians launched the Second Battle of Isonzo.
Yeet! Okay, a frontal assault, folks. Those mountains couldn't stop the Italians. Let's go!
On July 18th. With the weight of numbers on their side but lacking critical supplies like ammunition, the Italians were nevertheless able to carve deeper into the Austrian line. Brutal hand-to-hand combat raged on the karst plateau. The Italians succeeded in occupying the strategically important Mount Batonica in the northern section of the Isonzo front, and Capuccio Wood fell into Italian hands as well, enabling them to menace the Austrians at the town of Gorica. Cadorna would order offensive operations to cease on August 3rd, as both sides began to run out of ammunition and will. For these minor gains, the Italians traded the lives of 41,000 men, while the Austrians lost 46,000.
Okay, but still, what the?
Fighting would pause for 2 months after this bloodbath, with Cadorna launching his next attack on October 18th. The Italians made significant strides in the materiel department in the lead-up to this engagement, issuing their men Adrian helmets and bringing their total number of artillery pieces along the Isonzo to 1,250. Cadorna's main objective was the seizure of Gorizia, and to accomplish this, he spread his force out along the entire Isonzo, intending to move as a single, overwhelming line.
Another ad. Oh, come on, friend. Okay. I'll be on. I heard about this. Oh, hello? Okay. I'm very, very sorry. I'm just scared of getting copyrighted because of the ads. Let's go.
By their most intense artillery barrage yet, as Cadorna had finally begun to realize the value of artillery as a preface to his go-to mass infantry charges. Cadorna ordered a direct attack on Bovec, in addition to the main maneuver intended to outflank the defenders of Gorizia. This flanking maneuver was focused on the hill at Monte San Michele, where the Austrians were reinforced by troops from the Balkan front under Field Marshal Svetozar Borjovich. The upshot was more of the same, the Austrians on the high ground repulsing the Italians trying to unseat them. A 2-week lull in the fighting saw Cadorna change his strategy, and the Italians resumed their offensive by deploying concentrated forces on small areas. Borjovich and his men could quite literally see this coming a mile away, and reorganized their lines to meet the Italians' massed formation to massed formation.
First of all, props to Armchair Historian. The animation is amazing. What the? That's cool. I love the animation, and yeah, that's amazing. The trenches looks good. The way the soldiers walk, it's alright. Yeah. It's actually amazing. It amazes me, and the tactic in World War I, or the mindset of World War I was attack. Being in the defensive was not really in the mindset of the generals at this time period, because the tactic of if a country did an offensive, you had to counter offense it. I know it's hard for me to explain it for you guys, because I'm not really good at English, and I'm Filipino. I'm still learning English, and if you guys know about this, just comment down below, guys. I don't know much about it, but what I know, the mindset of generals at this time was attack, attack, attack. Like I know it's not really called attack, attack, attack. It's actually if the nation did an offensive, you have to take it back quickly, like do a counter-offensive. And yeah, the defensive side in this war was non-existent. So not really. The defensive side is like almost the trench part in the western front, but mostly it's if someone did an offensive, you have to counter-offensive. So yeah, counter-offense.
Their elevated positions allowed the Austrians to neutralize the Italian numerical advantage, and the Third Battle of Isonzo would yet again see the Italians fail to meet their objectives. The Italians added 67,000 men to their casualty count, with the Austrians taking 41,000.
My god.
The Fourth Battle of the Isonzo launched November 10th, with the Italians once again focusing on the area around Gorizia. The Italians continued their strategy of large and costly attacks that provided little in terms of meeting objectives, capturing some Austrian territory and launching 5 attacks on Monte Sebuzzi, near Gorizia, that were all repulsed. The Austrians could count another defensive victory at the cost of 32,000 casualties, while the Italians racked up another 49,000.
My god.
As the end of November came and the cold set in, grand maneuvers gave way to localized skirmishing. With both sides running low on supplies and winter about to set in, an unspoken truce took hold. The winter break gave the Italians time to shore up their offensive, and Cadorna added a full 8 divisions to his numbers. On March 9th, 1916, the Fifth Battle of the Isonzo began, with the Italians trying yet again to take the area around Gorizia. This time, the Italian assault yielded an actual strategic gain, as Cadorna's men seized the ridgeline at Mount Sabatino, overlooking Gorizia. It only cost them 2,000 men, a casualty figure the Austrians mirrored. It should be noted that this battle was part of a grander strategy, as the Entente hoped to use the Italian assault to pull the Central Powers' focus from the battles at Verdun and the Eastern Front. Speaking of the Eastern Front, the Russian Brusilov offensive caused an Austrian drawdown along the Isonzo, as troops were pulled from the Italian meat grinder to shore up the Austro-German lines against the Tsarist attack.
Uh-oh.
As the Austrians drew their troops down, Cadorna drew up plans for yet another assault on the Isonzo region, with a view to finally capture Gorizia. Italian sappers on Mount Sabatino dug tunnels stretching behind the Austrian positions. The Italians—
Oh my god, imagine digging tunnels. That's actually amazing, you know? Like, these folks dug tunnels to attack. Like, it actually amazes. It amazes me, you know? The preparation of like another battle, it's amazing. It amazes me.
Hoped to use underground passageways to slip behind their enemy's defenses and occupy Sabatino's peak. On August 6th, the Italians bombarded Gorizia directly, raining shells upon their target as they launched assaults on Austrian positions.
Oh my.
As the Italians made gains, Boryovich requested reinforcements, but Vienna denied his plea.
Oh god, no.
Boryovich committed his reserves to the defense of Sabatino, but could only look on as the Italians seized the rest of the mountain in less than an hour.
Star Wars?
For once, the Italians held the high ground.
Yep, this is Star Wars, what you call that, Easter egg? Yeah. Star Wars.
The Austrians retreated, and the defensive line around Gorizia that had so long stymied the Italians disintegrated, Cadorna's forces capturing the main southern road into the town to cement their imminent advance. Boryovich's force, bloodied and forced from their positions, abandoned Gorizia to the Italians, retreating to emplacements along the mountaintops to the north and east. As his men occupied the long-sought-after Gorizia, Cadorna ordered an end to the attack. The Italians had finally met an objective, but between their continued reliance on frontal assaults and the Austrians' desperate employment of chemical weapons in this battle, they suffered a staggering 51,000 casualties over the 11 days of fighting. This would be the zenith of Italy's success, and like all operations along the Isonzo, it was costly.
Oh no. Success and time. That graph. Okay. You have to pause it again.
Cadorna would follow up his Pyrrhic victory the next month, launching the 3-day 7th Battle of the Isonzo from September 14th to the 17th. With Romania's entry into the war on August 27th, and increasing Entente pressure on Austria and Germany, Cadorna began to believe it was only a matter of time until his foes simply buckled under his tactics of attrition. The Austrians would ultimately surrender in this battle, handing Cadorna a minor victory at best. Both sides would suffer around 20,000 casualties in the fight, and Cadorna would extend matters with the similarly brief 8th Battle of the Isonzo the following October, meant to extend the Nova Vas bridgehead even further into Austrian territory, which resulted in 2 days of inconclusive battles that did little more than further bloody both forces.
Like in the table that we saw earlier.
November would bring the last Isonzo battle of 1916. This 9th battle would see the Italians strike at the Slovenian town of Vertojba, still seeking a path through Slovenia to Vienna, as well as along the Karst Plateau. As usual, the Italians' numbers proved little match for the Austrians' natural defensive positions, and the 9th battle proved a defensive victory for the Austrians. But while they may have repulsed the Italian attack, the defenders were beginning to feel the weight of their losses, and their lines grew increasingly thin. Confident that Cadorna would continue to wear them down, the Austrians requested help from Germany. For his part, Cadorna saw that his own forces were wearing both out and down. His casualty figures were mounting, and the field marshal began to see he had little to show for it. As fighting paused for the winter, Cadorna received assurances from the French and British that if the Germans provided the Austrians with substantial enough support, he could count on their own troops joining him in the field. Buoyed by the prospect of wasting the lives of other nations' men, Cadorna and his allied counterparts laid plans for the 10th Battle of the Isonzo, which, like the 5th, would dovetail with allied operations on the Western Front, in this case, the 1917 Enna offensive. The Austrians would be rudely awoken on May 12, 1917, by an Italian bombardment, an overture to the 10th Isonzo battle. Over 2 days, the Italians shelled the Austrian positions before launching assaults on the port city of Trieste and the fortified Monte San Gabriele. Seizing the mountain would have opened up the Vipaco Valley behind Gorizia. Over 15 days, the Italians would advance to within 23 kilometers, or roughly 14 miles, of Trieste. But their drive against Monte San Gabriele would meet fierce Austrian resistance and flounder. On June 3rd, the Austrians launched a fierce counterattack, reversing the Italians' gains almost entirely. For their momentary advance, the Italians lost 150,000, the Austrian defenders 90,000. The Italians' morale plummeted in the face of this reversal of fortune, manifesting as outright mutiny. Italian soldiers refused to attack the Austrians in some locations. With his men beginning to resist him, but sure the Austrians would buckle eventually, Cadorna did the rational thing and consulted with his... Wait, no, that's not right. No, he ordered another front...
Another assault! I told you, if the nation did an offensive, you had to... a counter-offense. The offensive. I mean, counter-attack. Why the hell did I say... Why am I saying offensive? If the nation attacks, you have to counter-attack quickly. So yeah, told you this is the mindset of the day. If the nation attacks, you have to counterattack it quickly. You have to take the land that they took. So yeah.
Frontal assault.
The
The 11th Battle of the Isonzo opened with yet another artillery barrage, this one including over 5.5 million artillery shells on August 18th. The Italians poured across the river on pontoon bridges with the goal of occupying the Bainsitsa Plateau, which would divide the Austrians in two and cut the Austrian strongholds at Monte San Gabriele and Monte Ermada off from each other. The Italians succeeded in occupying the plateau, but their assaults on the fortified mountains fared as well as their previous assaults on the high ground. The Italians lost the initiative, but after 2 years of attrition warfare, the Austrians were too far exhausted and underprepared to seize it for themselves. Technically, the Italians won the 11th battle, but their assaults on the fortified Austrian positions cost them around 150,000 casualties, and their second army would find itself divided by the river, a critical weakness in disposition that the Austrians would take advantage of.
Ah, that's smart.
The stage was...
Again. Mute. Very, very sorry. Okay, come on. Let's go.
The stage was set for the final fight for the Isonzo, the Battle of Caporetto. As the Italians dug into their positions, and the Austrians tried to marshal what strength they could, German forces began arriving to reinforce the Austrians, and together they would open the battle on October 24th. In a role reversal for the ages, the Austro-German forces were the aggressors, launching a cloud of poison gas at the Italian trenches. The Italians broke in the face of this, abandoning their positions with gas nipping at their heels and hundreds falling as the noxious fumes clawed at their lungs.
Yeah.
Austro-German engineers next detonated mines underneath hardpoints in the Italian line, clearing the way for a combined infantry assault that sent the Italians into a panic. As German stormtroopers led the way, Austro-German mortars and light artillery pounded the Italians. The Italian Second Army, split during the previous battle, began to rout. The second's commander asked Cadorna for permission to withdraw, but the field marshal proved as dogged on defense as he was on offense and ordered the second to hold firm. The Italian...
if they attack, you have to counterattack. Told you, defense.
Did their best to hold, but after 6 days, Cadorna relented and ordered a general retreat on October 30th. The Italians fled with the Germanic forces in hot pursuit, weathering Austrian ambushes as they fled toward home. But success would prove a double-edged sword for the Austro-German forces. The Italian retreat was so desperate, and the Germanic pursuit so determined, that the Austrian and Germans outstripped their supply lines.
They pushed them all back.
The Italians soon retreated over the Piave River, establishing defensive lines on the shores of Italy itself, but the Austro-German forces were too under-provisioned and too exhausted to mount an effective invasion of Italy, and both sides settled in on either bank of the river. The retreat was a complete disaster for Italy. The Germanic attack had cost them 300,000 casualties, and morale among their troops was so low that a great many simply surrendered to the advancing Austro-German army. A martinet with a penchant for executing his own people had broken the soul of his forces with his constant frontal charges and promotion of harsh discipline. For example, a mutinous brigade of 120 men was subjected to a Roman-style decimation, or the killing of 10% of their number, after they rebelled against their commanders and killed officers and military policemen. It should be noted that it is not clear whether this single instance of imperial justice was Cadorna's doing, but regardless, the debacle of the Battle of Caporetto showed Cadorna for the brute he was, and the chief of staff was forced into an ignominious resignation.
My God.
The battles of the Isonzo were a stain on Italy's military record, a campaign of attrition that failed to meet its major objectives. For the Austrians, the Isonzo battles were simultaneously a massive drain on resources and a successful defense of their frontier. The fighting was isolated to ethnically Slovene territory, and 30,000 Slovenes died during the battles, most conscripts in the Austro-Hungarian army. Other Slovenes were removed from Gorizia and other Italian conquests and shipped to internment centers. The Italians there treated these civilians as enemies, and thousands would die of malnutrition. On all sides, Italian, Austro-Hungarian, and civilian, the battles of the Isonzo were a bloody mire without success, a tragic tale told by Cadorna, full of death and fury, signifying nothing.
It's almost a stalemate. It's like almost a stalemate. Wow. That was Italian Insanity, 12 Battles of Isonzo by Armchair Historian. That was amazing, guys. It was a interesting video. And comment down below if you liked the video. This video is going to be in the description down below, first link, and Armchair Historian's channel is going to be in the second link, and the last video is going to be in the third link. So guys, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for 2 subscribers, like for the last video. Wow. And I love all of your engagement in that video, so please comment down below. I would love that. I'm gonna end my recording. There we go. And yes, guys, goodbye.